I built buildings in a 94. Can I tell you what's more complicated? What's more complicated is building a
Xbox,
building
watch
that's 95
Fox
stories
News.
tall. Okay?
Xbox, watch Fox
Think
News.
so, really? No, I don't think so. A lot of people don't think so. Okay, you're right. I don't believe it. And the
Xbox,
drugs
watch
come-
MSNBC.
They have pictures, they have everything crawling over the fences, which are, by the way, this high. I mean, you have fences.
Here's a question. When is the last time that you saw a presidential candidate and every single thing he did or said was live television? Every single news reporter brief, every single meeting in some state that nobody cares about or knows about or even visits, everything that this man does, somebody is watching it. He's on every single channel. And he's just a candidate. He's at the top of the Republican polls. And many Republicans hate Trump. Well, not actually, I can't even say that. There's a lot of Republicans who want Jeb Bush. But the simple fact of the matter is that this country hates dynastic politics. And right now, this country hates its political system. And right now, this country hates its politicians. And that's the reason why all of the front runners, Trump, Fiorina, Carson, if you notice, they all have one thing in common. These people have never governed. This country at this point hates politicians. The only people other than governors who have a chance is kind of the senators. For instance, Bernie Sanders, Senator. Barack Obama was a senator. But the thing about it is these people who are running mostly are coming out of nowhere or coming out of the woodwork. And the country's looking at them because right now they hate their governors. They hate the political system. They hate the idea of government because the government's taxing them and this, that, and other. Everybody has their own reason. But Trump, the things that this man says would have derailed anybody else's candidacy except Donald Trump's candidacy. Talking about anchor babies. And you know what? The thing about it is, from a legal standpoint, the government has failed if it is not keeping our borders secure. The government itself has failed. So for Donald Trump to be up there talking about anchor babies, he shouldn't even have to be talking about anchor babies. The government's job is to secure our borders. It's not, if you're, first of all, MSNBC and CNN have turned the words illegal immigrant into a racial slur. Illegal immigrants are illegal, period. Period. It has nothing to do with race. If you come from Canada illegally, you're illegal. If you come from Italy illegal, you're illegal. Period. Then on Facebook, you have to deal with these morons constantly posting this bullshit about Native Americans saying, oh, you don't like illegal immigrants, when do you leave? Well, guess what? Charles Darwin would say that the Native Americans had their chance and that because they couldn't repel the influence of the foreigners, that their time came and passed. Not all Native Americans are gone. Most of them went to Central America, and a lot of them went up north to Canada. The simple fact of the matter is, when a superior culture or a superior species meets up with an inferior culture or inferior species, the superior species pretty much wipes the floor with the inferior species. And that's simple Darwinism. But what we're being taught is liberalism, and as far as they're concerned, they don't accept that. Donald Trump scares them. He terrifies people. This is not a stupid man. He's not crazy. A crazy person couldn't hold on to $5 billion. I hear his net worth may be between 5 and 10. A crazy person would have squandered that wealth. A crazy person would have simply given all that money away and lived homeless on the streets. That's crazy. This man, regardless how you feel about him, is a job creator. This man, regardless how you feel about him, has dealt with public health insurance. He has over 22,000 employees, so he's dealt with health insurance. So for somebody like him, seeing public health insurance in shambles cost him money, and it makes him pretty angry. If the money was coming out of your pocket, you'd be upset. But the simple fact of the matter is, and I've got a friend on Facebook who is pro Jeb Bush and hates Trump, and every little thing he could find anti-Trump he posts. The simple fact of the matter is, there's a reason why this guy's leading in the polls. And I'm going to say it just like this. Donald Trump, regardless how you feel about it, Donald Trump is really the Ronald Reagan of our time. Ronald Reagan was a different person back then, because you got to remember, there's a lot of things that we see on television now that were unheard of 30 or 40 years ago. Gay marriage on television, unheard of. Talking about abortion allowed, unheard of. Most of these things were unheard of. People who have opinions like this were unheard of back then. Donald Trump has what Barack Obama had that got him into office, despite he had really no experience before going into office. It's called charisma. This man, you know he has businesses. You know he's a job creator. You know he must know something about what he's talking about because he's a billionaire. He has to know something. Meanwhile, the rest of the politicians have done absolutely nothing on their own, have created no jobs on their own, have relied on government subsidies for whatever they've done, have relied on pork barrels for whatever they've done. The reason why I back this man right here up until they find me somebody better is simply because I understand where his anger is coming from. I'm 30-something years old, and I've been pissed. I've traveled all over the world. I've lived in China. I've lived in Japan. I've lived in Dubai. I've been to other parts of the world, et cetera, et cetera. But the simple fact is, from what I've seen, the other parts of the world are getting rich off the backs of Americans. Our factory work has been shipped to Asia. We have nothing to offer our low-end service sector except welfare or jail, because anybody who is not willing to work on the low end ends up in crime, and then they end up locked up and they go to these prison communities in parts of these states that nobody gives a shit about. Like, for instance, New York State survives off of New York City. New York State itself doesn't produce shit. New York City brings in over 300 million per day. So when you're shipping people upstate New York to go to these prison colonies that nobody gives a shit about, that don't exist because they're not really even on any maps, well, all we have to offer these people is crime. We need factory work for our low end. So when he's talking about these things, after I lived in China for 2 years, I know what he's talking about. I know why he's angry. And yes, he is angry. And the reason why he's leading in the polls is because he's tapping into anger. He's tapping into it. The illegal immigrants, in my opinion, really aren't the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that illegal immigrants are a symptom of an out-of-control welfare state. I wish Donald Trump had my words, because if I was him, I'd come out and say, you can't have an open border policy if you have a welfare state. If you have open borders and you're not just doling out welfare, illegal immigrants will not come here unless they plan on working. They won't come so that they can sit on the shovel and lay back. They will come here because they want to work. If they come here, which is fine, they also need to pay taxes. The way it is now, illegal immigrants come. Some of them are criminals from all over the world, not just from Mexico. Some of them are criminals. The majority of them work off the books. They get cash payments, and they pay no taxes. Meanwhile, the American people, the middle class, is getting raped for taxes, and their taxes only keep going up because they're so stupid at this point that they keep voting for socialism. The reason why Donald Trump terrifies people is because the liberal intelligentsia on MSNBC, Rachel Harry Potter Maddow, and all of the, Al Sharpton, Rachel Maddow, all of these people and Hollywood are anti-corporation. They want you to depend on government for everything. I'm not a 30-year-old black Republican for no reason. They want you to depend on government. They want you to keep voting for welfare. And then you have no choice but to do exactly what they tell you. At a certain point, you get to a point where you can't even discriminate in your own business. You can't say, I won't bake a cake for somebody, because they'll threaten your tax-exempt status. You can't be a church and say, I won't marry somebody, because they'll threaten your tax-exempt status. I like this man because he's bringing, and it's not really corporatism, but he's bringing business back to America. And a lot of people have forgotten what business is. When they say Obama creates jobs, what they don't realize is that all he's doing is taxing us more to create the jobs that he creates. Because a president doesn't create jobs. Their policies, which are approved by Congress, may or may not create jobs, but ultimately any jobs that the government creates only expands government. This man right here is about private business. This man right here is trying to bring business back to America. And that's why I appreciate him. I love the way this guy stands there, and he tells these half-ass reporters and journalists who are just there to screw him up, tells them, I don't give a shit what you say. I'm up here, I'm running, and I'm going to do it my way. Whether he wins or loses, and I hope to God he wins, because the last thing I want is that socialist Bernie Sanders. But whether this man wins or loses, he's proving to you right now, day by day, our stock market is in the shitter right now, down $1 trillion. Now, most of that money came, China lost most of that money. But the thing about it is, our stock market only reflects Wall Street. It doesn't even reflect Main Street anymore. Main Street's losing out of their 401ks, but the vast majority of Americans are too broke to even own stock. Now you've got Asian billionaires who are taking their money out of their markets to come over here, buy our houses, and then rent them out to us and our children. And this is the thing. These are the things that Donald Trump mentions, and that's what he's tapping into. I refuse to be a globalist. I don't exist around the globe. I'm an American, period. Whatever any other country has to do with us, whatever their business is with us, that's fantastic for them. But America comes first. When they say country first, yeah, Sarah Palin and John McCain came up with that, and people made fun of it. But that's what country first means. Country first, in this case, is protectionism. Donald Trump sounds to me like a protectionist, and I'm ready to give him 4 years. So if you're willing to vote for another Democrat socialist like Bernie Sanders or Hillary, I don't remember where my files are on my personal MyCloud server, Hillary Clinton. Well, if that's what you're willing to vote for, then don't be surprised later down the road when our dollar is destroyed and the only first of all, even with Obama and Clinton and Bush and other Bush, even with these people in office, the gap between rich and poor has only grown. And the reason why it's grown is because our low-end factory jobs are in Asia, and that's the bottom line. Everything in America revolves around work. If we don't have jobs for our low end, you can't afford housing, you can't afford rent, there's no investment coming in. The vast majority of these companies that are getting rich employ fewer and fewer people. Facebook, YouTube, most of these places can run with less than 10,000 employees, yet they're the richest in the entire world. No, I'm voting for Trump. I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. You can keep voting socialism, but I'm telling you right now, Black Republican right here is voting for Donald J. Trump.
President Obama has been a disgrace, an absolute disgrace running this country. If he was in my boardroom, I'd only have 2 words to say to him. You're fired. And as for the rest of these empty suits up here, well, I'm a multi-billionaire CEO. I run countries and companies and everything everywhere. And don't you tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. If it was up to me, the border would be secured yesterday. In fact, I was talking to these people the other day, and they were talking about how we have an unfair rap from Mexico, and China's devaluing its currency, and right now the Chinese yuan is less than 7 yuan to $1 because they're devaluing the currency. How are we supposed to play with these people? They do whatever they want. They rip America off. They win. We lose. I want to make America great again. America hasn't won anything under Obama, and definitely nothing under Bush. No offense over here to you, Jeb Bush, but the simple fact is we don't need another Bush in the White House, nor do we need another Clinton. I mean, your brother's the one who got us into the war in the first place, right? So we absolutely don't need either of you running anything. And you did a poor job, a terrible job. You're stupid, you stink, you're a bunch of slobs. You're an absolute disgrace. The American people should vote for me because I know what we need to do to make America great again.
Hi, my name's Dr. Ben Carson. I'm easily the smartest black man that's ever existed in the history of black people, including all of Africa. The reason why you should elect me your president is because although I have no governing experience and I've never held an elected office, if there's a problem with your cerebellum or your cerebrum or your medulla oblongata, I've got my surgery kit right here and I've got this table and I can work on you. You know, honestly, if I was around when JFK was around, I could have put him back together again just like Humpty Dumpty. But all I want to say is this: we need to get our economy back on track, and what we should do is follow God's rule of 10%. For every dollar you make, I'm just going to take 10 cents. For every $1 billion you make, I'm only going to take 100 million or whatever that is. And if you make $1 million, I'll take even less. 10%, that's all you need. And we can balance government, unlike President Obama, who's absolutely done nothing to improve the economy. He's only offered welfare and handouts. And the problem with the government is they don't have a bottom line they need to meet. They don't worry about profit and loss statements. If they come up red, which they always do, they only tax you more. Now, I think that I'm the best person, and you really shouldn't consider Hillary Clinton because From my own medical expertise, I believe there's something seriously wrong with her brain. Hi, my name's Fiorina. Many of you may not recognize me, but basically I'm the person who nearly destroyed Hewlett-Packard computers. Basically, in order to improve our bottom line, I decided to sell off as many assets as I could. You remember when Hewlett-Packard used to make those beautiful digital cameras? Well, not anymore. In fact, my friend Big Truck Series Review just purchased a brand new HP computer that probably wouldn't have existed if I had stayed CEO at HP. Let's ask John what he thinks.
I've got a HP Envy with a Core i7 and a Titan X 12 gigabyte video card running 3 monitors, and I would just like to say that if Carly Fiorina had stayed the CEO of HP, I wouldn't have been able to buy this, because that moron would have destroyed that company, and all they'd be making is printers and scanners and copiers and fax machines that you'd have to replace after like 30 days of use.
Hi, I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm a Democrat socialist. Many of you don't understand what a Democrat socialist is because you went to public schools. So let me explain it like this. Basically, a Democrat or socialist is like Diet Coke. If you buy Diet Coke, you're getting Coke looks, but you're not getting the Coke taste, the sugar, or the diabetes. Now, if you vote Democratic Socialist, what you're getting is the real Coca-Cola. And what that means is that all of the welfare handouts that you've normally voted for under President Obama and Bill Clinton, I'm gonna turn that into overdrive, and I'm gonna give you even more. You know that $18+ trillion debt that we have, where the government's spending over $49 million per second? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna increase that, and we're gonna try to outspend what we're spending now. We're gonna try to push it up to about $60 million per second, so that this way, all of your student debts and any other bills that you've racked up, I can just erase. Especially, I'm speaking right now to you students out there who went to party schools to get film degrees, didn't know what you were doing, partied, had a good time, and then suddenly realized that you had been borrowing $40,000 every single semester from China. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get in there and I'm just gonna promise you as many handouts as possible, and when you vote me in so that I can secure your Social Security and all the welfare handouts and Ponzi schemes that the government has going, I'm gonna make sure that every last one of you gets paid from the government just like your typical Wall Street CEO. I mean, why is it that they give all this money to Lockheed Martin when they could just be giving it to the people right here on the streets, especially the Black Lives Matter crowd? They're very upset right now. And all of you other socialists out there who want free marijuana, well, Chris Christie doesn't want you to have free marijuana, so you vote for me and I'll make sure you have free marijuana. Paid for by your tax dollars.
How can the Republican Party say that they're pro-women when they cancel out women's rights? How can the Republican Party say that they're pro-women when they make it so that women only earn 75 cents for every dollar that a Republican male earns? You need to vote for me, all of you, especially the blacks, the Hispanics, and everyone else who feels persecuted under the white man. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to pass laws that make it so everybody has a free chance.
Minute, why are you bothering my personal media server? There's nothing wrong with it. It's secure. I swear to God, it's secure. There's nothing wrong with having your own MyCloud or your own MyCloud Mirror or your own Verizon Fios router.